connector is for remediating core deficits related to children who suffer from social learning challenges. And when we speak about social learning challenges, we're talking about the ability to reflexively use eye contact, touch, emotional sharing in order to enhance, coordinate, and attend to the social patterns in their day-to-day life. We notice most parents would pull the child up into their hip, allowing the child to make reference to their face. And so with older children, and we're still trying to remediate these core deficits such as looking, attending, physically coordinating, they're too big to pick up physically and hold on our hip. And so attaching them, connecting them to our hip, we're still putting them in that same safe location. So children by nature have a high desire to please. It's very reinforcing to the human brain to be able to impact other people emotionally, especially in a positive way. We do things that have been done to us, to others, to cause reactions, but also not just behavioral reactions, but emotional reactions that are positive, that serve to amplify the joy state. And so he's actually sharing his experience rather than having experience to himself, and sharing that experience, amplifying joy through another person, reinforces the brain for, hey, that feels good, let's do that more, and sets the foundation for more sophisticated social interactions as he ages. 18 months of age, children start to become very interested and capable of not only tracking the visual movements of people, but they're able to control their body more. And so we're more inclined to direct them through language and through movement to see the areas of interest that we have and have them show us the areas of interest. When you're connected, it's really easy for the parent to get the behavioral cues of the child who naturally doesn't guide the parent like they're supposed to. And so when he did that, you switched right with him, and there's no substitute for that kind of natural reflexive input into his system. You can consciously talk to a kid about it, but neurotypical children and children with social disorders learn it best when it's on that reflexive level, where people are just doing it. And the only way to get the parent to respond to these kinds of behaviors from the child is they have to feel that input from the child's body. The toddler's coordination with mom's movement, even in the gesture of her hand, is being done without direct eye contact at mom. So the mapping of these social systems, what's appropriate in those contexts, have been mapped for the last 18 months. And the toddler is now able to do this reflexively, fluidly, with very little support from mom. Helping mom feel more at ease, more relaxed, doesn't feel the need to hold the child's hand the whole time. Doesn't feel anxious about the child running away or getting too close or doing something, or even being off topic. The toddler's ability to coordinate not only physically with mom, emotionally with mom, but even intellectually with mom, what's going on in that moment, and we're together. You get a sense of how interested and how interested he's not in it, which is nice. It's data that most people don't get with a child body. You have no idea what they are or how much. Well, the connector is you start walking. Okay, I guess we're done with that. That's exactly what we do with babies. Because when you're not getting those cues and your body's not picking them up, then everybody's trying to get the child to see something and do something and participate. He does see it. It's easy to direct his attention, and when he's done looking at it, then you're like, okay, I guess we're done. Well, if you're not connected and you're trying to spend all this time just trying to get him to look at it, you never really know if he's done looking at it or if he even saw it yet, and so it becomes very confusing. The connector reunites us with that content, gives us that data, and the beauty of it is it's tapping into the reflexive subconscious of adults, and they're picking up those cues very effectively. They're not wondering what to do.
Bem leve começou, só era uma brisa.
In addition, you can see that mom oftentimes, if the toddler's a little reticent, mom is leading. She stays in front. And the toddler is more likely to move after mom's moved. And that's an important variable to keep in mind, is children are following the security that the parent reflexively puts in front of the child. Most of these processes are taught and learned in both the parent and the child's subconscious interactions. He tries to maneuver himself to be in front of me in the idea that he would be more secure being the one in the lead, but in reality he actually becomes more anxious when he's actually in front of somebody taking all the sensory input into his body without somebody to help buffer it. His body was much more relaxed when he was walking behind me and I could keep him behind my shoulder. Because if you can't match the rhythm of somebody's body, your body's going to be, and being this close, I mean, he's got his arm around me, his body will start to detect threat from the discoordination and choose to be separate, which will then move him out of a relationship, making him more anxious, making him less capable, more inflexible in doing novel things.
Então a vela inflou e o barco deu partida, logo se afastou e eu na ilha pensei, tô sozinho nessa vida, tranquei meu amor entre as virilhas.
But just a continuous flow of very subtle, nonverbal, right brain, subconscious connections to communicate when the language is not shared at all. And both people clearly know language. We evolved to the point where the device was used to come apart on purpose so that the child wouldn't feel that sense of restraint, and so the child would be more likely to come back and put the device back together again, bringing them back into the relationship, a important developmental step in relationship skills, which is what we would consider the ability to repair the relationship when it comes apart. Connector keeps him from drifting too far out of the relationship. There's a natural separating the relationship, but that separation that pulls you back together. With autism, if they separate, they can actually just kind of keep drifting, and they can have a hard time figuring out how to come back. The connector sets a boundary, a natural relational boundary, that makes it easier, and a kinetic input. So he's got a connection to you, so your movements, your gestures, keeps inputting to his body, oh yeah, mom's there, and he comes back and finds you. And then you guys share another moment together. So the connector isn't designed to just hold him continuously in a relationship. That would be unnatural. But it does allow him to move in and out of one without such big gaps and such great distances being covered, where it puts the parent in a position where they're always trying to bring the kid back, and it becomes a one-sided relationship. Come over here, come over here, come over here, versus we're doing it together. And when moms take the time and dads take the time to physically move the baby in a way that communicates their intent to play, the baby's ability to organize this information is more sophisticated than in the verbal realm at this developmental stage. And so holding the baby over her head, the baby laughs, it's so much easier to amplify joy in a face-to-face shared emotion state when touch is included, to help the baby realize, hey, mom's intent is to play with me. We're born into this world dependent on relationships, and we sustain life, and our quality of life is directly calculated by the depth of our meaningful relationships. Of them. And so so in children with social learning disorders, they tend to struggle to glean these social nonverbal skills, which can then impact their verbal skills early in the life cycle. Neurotypical children coming back into the relationship is an emotional organization of emotional feelings. For children with social learning disorders, organizing those feelings is more difficult for them. And so creating a device in which the child and the parent is connected, enough pressure is put on that connection and it physically falls apart, allowed the child to mechanically put their relationship back together again. It's a more simplistic way of organizing the body and what to do when the emotional system is a little bit more challenged. So if I'm in one state of happy and I make you happy, then together we can make each other happier. And it's through my act upon you, it's through the shared gaze shift, it's through touch, it's through the tone in which we talk to each other, and it's through the experience that we share together of having fun.
Veio pra minha vida ensolarar e me esquentar. Os ventos não me cortam, não mais, pois agora eu tô na encosta, protegido por você.